It's 2 minutes past 4, and today is Thursday. I want to specially welcome you to the Thursday edition of the Situation Room, live on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Well, I want to believe your week has been going exceptionally well. We've been having some really good conversations since Monday on the show. This program comes up on the airwaves every Mondays to Fridays from 4 to 5 p.m. My name is 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒏 𝒂𝒂𝒕, and for the next 50 minutes or thereabouts, we'll come together on this space to look at issues that affect us, issues that borders around policies, that borders around politics, that borders around leadership and governance at every space, both from the federal to the states, to the local government, and to the world level. Well, I saw a disturbing video yesterday morning where some people, I don't know, maybe they were local government chairman or thereabout, that were prostrating for the Ogun State governor, that's His Excellency Dàpọ̀ Abíọ́dún. And I felt one of the things that came to my mind was that irrespective of what must have happened, whether all the local government chairman offended the governor, I mean, there are rules to the civil service. It's very clear. If someone did anything wrong or out of their line of duty, you issue them query and you make them respond to it. I felt it's quite dehumanizing. You know, when you see grown men and women prostrating and kneeling down in front of the governor, and the governor just folded his hands, obviously enjoying the aura of being in the position of the godlike feeling. Well, the executive governors are democratically elected. The local government chairman democratically elected. So I'm trying to understand if they've done anything wrong, issue them query and then let them respond to it. All of that, coming on, and the fact that the video even came out even made it more distasteful. And it's politics in this part of the world, and we always have our way of trying to justify or explain some of these things. Today on the show, I will be looking at Africa's democracy in the eye of the storm. We'll look at the coup and the burden of leadership. Mr. 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏 is the head of political desk of Guardian newspaper. He joins me live every Thursday. He's here with us in the studio, and together we'll look at some of these things. We'll also touch the issue of the palliatives. There are already allegations across different states that those palliatives are actually shared along party lines. That means they give it to party ESCOs at the local government level, at the ward level, and tell them to distribute it. In fact, it's been said that it's only central in one area in some spaces. So if you're staying in a village that is like 4 or 5 hours to the capital, you probably just count yourself out of the palliative. We'll talk about some of those things on the show today. Well, if you followed what we do on Thursdays, it's just Mr. 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒏 and I, trying to unravel, or let me put it this way, break down some of these policies that probably doesn't align with the yearnings and aspirations of the Nigerian people, in line with the dividends of democracy that the government has promised us at every single level. Well, we've followed this whole build up from the nomination of the ministers to their screening. We've also talked about them being assigned to their portfolios. Mr. 𝒂𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒏 had focused on some key ministries that we think is really, really vital for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's, hope of bringing up, the renewed hope mandates that he wants to give to Nigerians. So we looked at the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Finance, we looked at the Ministry of Petroleum. By the way, we don't have a Minister of Petroleum yet. We only have a Minister of State for Petroleum. Under Obasanjo's administration, he was also the Minister of Petroleum, and under the immediate past president, Muhammadu Buhari, he was also the Minister of Petroleum. Well, we also don't have the Minister of Sport yet, the Minister of Youth yet, yes. And that was one conversation that really dominated the show. Last week, Wednesday, I had someone, Engineer Audu, one of the Board of Trustee member for the Arewa Youth for Shettima Tinubu campaign. He joined us in the studio. And on Monday, over the weekend, I had quite a lot of, contacts reaching out to say, what, the interview was one-sided. Engineer Audu just came to give one side. I said, okay, let's keep it on. So I had the spokesperson of the All Progressive Congress National leader, Israel, that's Mr. Tunde Adejumo. He joined me live in the studio, and of course we had Mr. Akinola Shasonya, yes, one of the members of the Lagos Youth Parliament. He joined us via phone, and we looked at some of these things, the expectations of the typical Nigerian young person as regards who becomes the Minister of Youth. Remember, It used to be the Ministry of Youth and Sport Development, but it's been splitted into two now. We have the Ministry of Youth, and of course, we have the Ministry of Sports Development. So let's get into the thick of things today. On the turn of 4:30, yes, I think on the turn of 4:30, we'll open the conversation so that you can call in and drop your comment, depending on where we've got into with the deals that we have on the table today. Mr. Muyiwa, good evening, and welcome to the studio of Mainland 98.3 FM again.
Good evening, Lagos and the 𝒂𝒂𝒂. Good evening. How are you?
I'm very well. Well, we decided to focus more on the burden of demand of quality leadership along the African democracy situation right now. In the last 3 years, 8 African countries have actually had to deal with military coup.
Yeah.
5 of those countries have been successful, from Sudan to Mali to Guinea to Burkina Faso to Niger. Now we have Gabon. And one thing that had characterized the leadership of some of these countries is the fact that some of their leaders seems to have a covenant of lifelong presidency. For instance, in Gabon, the Bongos family have been ruling Gabon for over 50 years. The father ruled, that's Musa Ali Bongo ruled, and he died in office in 2009, and his son took over from 2009, and he's still been in office till he was ousted by the military coup. You look at some of these countries also. You look at country like Ivory Coast, for instance. There's been constant issues in respect to the election in that country is bringing in a lot of region. Remember the old 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 𝒔𝒂𝒂 situation a couple of years back, that it took the AU to send the former president of Nigeria, 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 𝒔𝒂𝒂, as mediator before 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 𝒔𝒂𝒂 decided to leave the palace. And it's been constant issues left, right, and center. What exactly is going on with leadership along the ECOWAS, along Africa generally? The AU seems to be handicapped in all of this. They said they've suspended Niger, they've suspended Gabon, but this military is gaining ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mr. Muyiwa, how did we get to this point, and how huge is the burden of leadership on African leaders here?
Thank you, listeners and 𝒂𝒂𝒂. I think the problem we are having here is the nature, can I say the nature of a black man? I think maybe or are we mixing our cultural and traditional orientation with democracy? And all this, I'm confused, because if you are to look at this theory and compare it to what is happening in Britain, Britain is known for monarchical government, and they respect that institution very well. But at the same time, you don't see a Briton, I think, confusing monarchical powers to that of the democratic institution. Remains ceremonial. Yes, in Africa, we respect our kings, and we think we have some prince and blue-blooded human beings that we used to having a king that died in office. But that is not democracy, because that's only that's one of the major linkages I want to use to explain the kind of a dilemma we find ourselves. Because it's in Africa, you see somebody spending 50 years in office, 40 years in office, manipulating the process, I think, to get to perpetuate himself in office, whether he's doing well or not is another thing. I don't know how anybody can do well in government for 50 years or 40 years. I think you will be tired. The pattern will remain the same, right? And everything about democracy is about choice. But in Africa, maybe the culture, because there is a mental problem, with a crisis, or a little of greed, I don't know. Why some people have deliberately hijacked power, I think, pretending to be Democrats. Because if you see what happened in Gabon, his father to son, and this has been happening in many African countries. Do you get my point? Even see what let's use this case of Gabon and Niger, I think, as a reference point here. In Gabon, his father spent about 40 years in office. He manipulated the system to remain in power. Remember, his father got to power through coup.
A coup.
Right. So he succeeded for 40 years manipulating people. I had been in Libreville. Though it's a very small country. It's a country of about 2.5 million people. Right. It's a very small country. I think there's a route from there, from Ibno here in Nakwabon to Libreville. I think I was there in the early 20s when they were taking some children from that region, Akwabon, Port Harcourt, Axis, Calabar, to go and work in their
child trafficking,
to go and work in their sugarcane plantation. So I took that route to Libreville. But the point I'm making is that how will somebody, your father was there for 40 years, you have spent 2 terms, in the middle of the game, you change
the goalpost.
The goalpost, right? And you manipulated the system. On the day of election, you shut down power, you shut down internet. So he was the first person. Bongo was the first person that planned coup
against himself,
against people, against people's will. Do you understand? He thought he succeeded in his coup against people's will to perpetuate himself in office. Now the military now came as well. If you thought you have been able to plan a coup against democracy, then
we will plan against you.
We also plan against you. But the fear for democracy is this: who calls for equity
must come with clean hand.
Must come with clean hand. Any African leader want to lay claim to be democratic must obey and follow democratic principles. Democracy is about rule of law. Democracy is about the triumph of the constitution. Democracy is about respecting people's will. Democracy is about accepting people's will. Democracy is for you to submit yourself to the authority of the sovereign, of the people. But immediately you did anything against that, you have no right to claim that you are democratic or you are operating democracy. No, you cannot. So the young man Bongo is not a Democrat. He has planned coup against democracy. He has changed the constitution, at least at the detriment of the people, not just whatever, of the people of that country, and is reaping the fruit of it. To me, he deserves no peace.
Yoweri Museveni of Uganda has been president for 37
years.
Theodore Mbazogo of Equatorial Guinea for 44 years.
Yes.
Paul Biya of Cameroon has been there for 48 years.
Yes.
Denis Nzengo of Congo has been there for 38 years.
Yes.
Isiaka Averi of Eritrea has been there for 31 years. Paul Kagame of Rwanda for 23 years. And of course, Ismail Omar Guelleh of Djibouti has been there for 24 years. Now, that takes us to the next line of conversation again. If you look at all of these people, then you're asking again, the Bongo family have ruled Gabon for 56 years. Of course, the family that is ruling Togo has been there also. That's the Gnassigbe's family has been there for 56 years also. So now you look at all of these people and you're asking, is this a mental issue? Tired, but you've been the president, the commander-in-chief, you've been the one correcting your own errors for 50 years. How handicapped do you think the regional bodies and the African bodies that we have in terms of instilling democracy, how handicapped is the AU and the ECOWAS at this point?
The truth is that the regional bodies, they are not speaking, they are not telling themselves own truth. Right. It's like you don't look for the cause root of the crisis and you want to continue to, let's say, provide medication to the effect, to the consequence of an action. The action is that some people have betrayed all the principles of democracy, right? And that once they've done that, there must be consequence. But ECOWAS or AU are so much interested in the consequence. Do you understand? Of the consequence, but without looking at the root level of the crisis. What are the root level of the crisis? For somebody to perpetuate himself in power for as long as he thought he could manipulate people. Once people have been doing that, they should expect the consequence of their action, right? I think action and reaction are equal and opposite, as people will tell you. But so for instance now, look at Paul Biya of Cameroon. I'm sure his people must have been panting by now, because it's a matter of time. Even if it didn't happen now,
some of the presidents are already changing their service chiefs and sacking,
yes.
the high-ranked military officers.
That was Rwanda. I think that was Rwanda.
Paul Kagame has done that.
Kagame just done that today now. And the service chiefs don't. But that all those will not save him. It's not. I mean, most times it's not service chiefs that plan coup. It's the middle cadre officers, the majors, the captains, the majors, right? These are the real battalion that were in charge when it comes to coup. They are the one, they're the elements, right? Do you understand? For them to eliminate their generals doesn't take them any time. These are the young boys that look at Nigeria, for instance. But we are not coming to Nigeria now. But the point we're making is that if Paul Biya should stay in that with his age, with his heart,
he can barely stand.
He can barely stand. Even we could barely understand what they are saying, and you are telling us that man is still ruling a country, right?
As big as Cameroon.
How should that man be determining faith of millions of people? You understand? What else does he want in power? That's what I'm saying. If not a mental crisis, that's why we can begin to link. Are we still thinking we are operating monarchical government and clothing needs as democratic government? No, let's be realistic with ourselves. If they want to go through democracy, we have the examples of where democracy operates. We borrow it, right? What's traditional to most of the African countries, this monarchical, right? But the world has gone beyond that one. You can't say because you were born wherever you want to rule me, I will ask you to hell with you, right? Because you are born, so what? Do you understand? But now people surrender their power to one particular person. That's democracy. That's what we are talking about now. So if we want to run democracy, let African leaders run democracy and they should run it. If they want to go back to monarchical system of government, let them declare this country where we are operating monarchical system of government. Nobody is expecting democracy in Saudi Arabia, right? And they are ruling themselves, right?
And it's well spelled out.
Spelled out. So so long people are still happy with that, we have no problem. But once you are saying you are operating democracy, that there are some principles, there are characteristics expected of you, and there are models, there are examples in the world where we know how democracy should operate. So these leaders, we don't know whether when they get to office, they think they are now a monarchical leader. They now see them as its royal majesty that suddenly become a blue-blooded citizen. And we don't understand. But they are not practicing democracy. And once they are not practicing democracy, do you understand? And when anything happens to them, you should not blame whatever happened to. You should not blame the military. That's what I'm saying. Once you've crossed the thin line of democracy, right? Whatever happens to you, do you understand? I think it's a jungle justice, right? So native catch 'em, native get 'em. So that.
Okay. One of the principal responsibility of the ECOWAS, that's the Economic Community of West African States, that has about 17 member states, including Nigeria, is instilling and sustaining those countries have had to battle with coup. 3 of them not successful, 4 of them 2 of them not successful. 5 of them successful. Yes. Right now. Now, what do you think should be the priority of ECOWAS and AU in terms of tackling the remote causes of all of these issues? You made mention of a key, line now. You said the moment you cross that line of democracy, the moment you trash the constitution, the moment you alter the rule, it's supposed to be a 4-year term, then you change it to 8 years, then you change it to another 8 years, then you continue to make yourself. What should be the priority of ECOWAS? I remember when the conversation around the Niger coup started, one of the, I think the commissioner for conflict resolution of ECOWAS came out to say that one of the things that the ECOWAS is looking into now is how to limit the constitutional, time that people can become president. Is this a big concern along Africa, Mr. DM? And secondly, Should Nigeria be worried?
The truth about the matter is that ECOWAS has many functions to rule. I think the issue of economy is there, integration, social integration, and political, which is this governance we are talking about. And for what is happening, that you have to rise up. I think I want to address this matter. I think I want to in the two-pronged approach to it. The first one is, for them, they should not just be looking at trying to cure consequences or effects or running after reactions. They should be able to be in position now to be very categorical on their stand on changing the constitution willingly to suit the incumbent. If, let's say, immediately the Gabonese man was trying to change the constitution, ECOWAS said no. At least you are in government. There's no reason for that. Without tampering on the sovereign right, this is what was submitted as a constitution, right? Even we are monitoring. If there will be a reason for it, I think they have embassies, they have high commissions, all these places. They are giving reports. Do you understand? But so you cannot just change. Had they been ECOWAS opened their eyes. They did not say a word when the man was changing the constitution. Do you understand? ECOWAS opened their eyes. They did not condemn. They did not say, I think maybe if it's a spirit of this commander they are doing, I can't understand. When the man manipulated the electoral system, shut down power supply, shut down internet, manipulated the process to give himself 64%.
An African leader, sorry to cut you, an African leader actually declared 98% electoral victory at some point.
No, I'm coming. So at the ECOWAS opened their eyes, AU opened their eyes. They did not raise any observation to tell their colleagues, so, sir, we are getting it wrong. Do you understand? So if you close your eyes when the man was perpetrating such heinous acts against democracy, then when the consequence comes, stop crying foul. That's number one. Number two is that for them, so this is number one, for them to have any impact on this, supposed to have been done earlier. So once you refuse to do that, just shut up your mouth now. Secondly, is that let's look at some of these countries that are having problem. They are francophone countries. Do you understand? Majority are francophone countries, and whether we like it or not, French foreign policy concerning their former colonies has failed, because the policy of assimilation, which they are still trying to implement indirectly, came out loud with the J people, which Gabonese also were still shouting about at the same time. So the French supposed to now look at where did they get it wrong if they still wanted to have relationship with their former colonies. So French foreign policy has collapsed, has failed when it comes to their relationship with their former colonies, especially in Africa. People are saying no to some of those things they were doing. So people are saying no to something that still tied them to the April string of that colonial master, that you have to save certain amount of money in a French bank. You must take certain decision. You must take instruction before you can do one or two things. And do you know that they have about 400,000 soldiers in that axis, but they cannot come in now.
They've closed the border.
The closed border will not stop them anyway, but they dare not come in because of it's a sovereign country. But indirectly, they were still manipulating the process of governance in that country, and whoever becoming the leader were serving their interest rather than serving the interest of the locals, of the people it was to protect. That's why they still have access to some of the most natural resources in those countries, in those francophone countries. So that's why I'm saying that French policy, foreign policy, have failed when it comes to, I think, the issue of Africa, especially in West Africa. So those two issues, Tinubu as a leader of the ECOWAS should also know that it's a shame on the ECOWAS that the young boy Bongo, that his father spent 40 years was manipulating process, do you understand, to perpetuate himself in office. So fighting for such man, I don't think Tinubu should be able to, and should front that one. No, but the problem I have is that human beings, when it comes to power, you can't trust them. That's why we need the institution to check. Look at what happened in Niger. The young boys, this young soldier said they will take 3 years. To do what? You have come to correct anomalies. Are you telling us it will take you 3 good solid years to conduct a fresh election in a country of less than 26 million people? After many years of Maradonic process of Babangida inherited by Abacha, Shoneko, Absalom came and said 9 months. So people didn't believe him. And in 9 months, the man left office. So why can't these guys correct, whatever you want to correct, in 6 months and left office? Why 3 months? Why 3 years? Are they good economists? Are they telling people that they can run the economy better than civilians? Are they saying that they can operate the constitution of the country better than civilians? So why must they want to spend 3 years in office to correct, to do what? The history has shown all over in the world that military cannot operate the economy of any country better. Nigeria is still suffering. Let me tell you something. What makes any governance to be impactful is the ability of the people in leader to have feedback, the control mechanism, the robust argument. As a leader, you cannot think through of everything, but by robust discussion, where people are free at all levels to engage in serious conversation, that's when government gets the best of policies out. Even if you are in a board meeting, you allow everybody to say their mind. Even let the stupid person say what he's going to say. It may be that stupidity that is displayed that will bring somebody strike something out. But in military, you don't have that. You have the command structure. This is I was a student union, and part of the student union, we were about going on strike. We were not strike. We were going on protest when we held meeting with him. When the man came, he said we saw his letter. Our letter was demeaning. So the man said, I'm quoting him. He said, let me tell you, you just young lads, I'm here. I'm responsible to only one person. And that's my CEC. I don't give hoot about the traditional rulers. I don't give hoot about your fathers. I don't give hoot about the royal fathers. I don't give hoot of anybody in Ogun State, because I'm here to do my work and I'm only responsible to only one person. And once that one person say I'm okay to help with whatever anybody is saying in the state, and it's true. So once Abacha said he was doing it right.
He's doing it right.
He's doing it right. And then, do you know what I'm saying? So that is, how can you rule or govern a state, a country like that? So no input from people. If you try to criticize that government, you know the implication. And then you get the best out of critics. Let them criticize you. You are not angels. There's no way you can think everything. But by the time you get input from left and right, from opposition, from friends, from non-aligned people, at least you are going to get some points and know how people feel about you and their government. But if the military can't get that, so what will military boys want to do in the jail for 3 years? I'm here to be convinced.
But then somebody would argue that if they don't want to allow the military to rule for 3 years, but somebody had been president for 42 years, somebody had been president for 48 years. Now, let's keep that aside. One of the biggest arguments that probably political analysts or observers had brought up on the table is that when there's failed leadership, whatever comes in as a consequence, the people would have to deal with it. Now, is coup the best way to put things straight when there are perceptions of a failed leader in any country whatsoever? Is coup or military?
But you can't rule it out. There must be law and order. I think we saw when people were, I think, disenchanted with the administration in the Asia the other time. We saw Asia Spring. We knew how it started, and we know how the military had to come to rectify the situation. What will have been left option is for people to occupy the streets. Do you understand? Chaos. And like when we had these NSAS in Lagos State, that because it became free for all, and the law and order broke down. Do you understand? So military will not want that to be the best option. But all these things are avoidable. Should not see that opportunity to turn themselves to become a prince or blue-blooded individual. Do you understand? It's the sense of entitlement. No, when they got there, they thought no one else at least can do it better than them. That's stupidity. Who hell you are? Do you understand? Okay, you are governing a country, you not on the place of government on the rado, and you begin to see yourself as the only person that can do it. Who told you? Are you God? So they are playing God. I see many African leaders trying to play God, and whoever trying to play God, something must fall. So that's the problem we are having with them. So, but the truth is that we are not expecting, we are not encouraging military, we are not encouraging civil unrest, but at the same time, let people that are entrusted with people's power see it as sacred, and they must play according to the rules of the game. But immediately you are deviating from the rule of the game to perpetuate yourself in office, or to ensure that I think you just continue to have your way, I think you are already inviting unexpected. And when it happens, sorry, you caused it.
And you dance to the consequences.
And you have to dance to the consequences.
Very interesting. In case you're just tuning in, I've been speaking with Mr. Muyiwa Adeyemi. He joins me every Thursday on the show every week from 4 to 5 p.m. and we look at issues that have to do with policies of the government and affect the people directly or indirectly. But today, I would decided to use the first part of the program to look at the burden of responsibilities on leaders around Africa. I mean, the sit tight mentality, the me or nobody mentality that had made people to be president for 56 years, for 48 years, for 23 years, for 32 years. I mean, it's more like saying somebody eating the same food for 35 years. Come on board. And that's exactly, this program is being streamed live on all our social media platforms, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM, and also on YouTube at mainland 983 on YouTube. Search us out, drop your comments, and you can watch us and live how we do it in the studio here. This is mainland 98.3 FM. So, Mr. Miwa, let's keep the issue of the coup in Africa, let's put it to one side. Okay. Even though we're not going to put it to one side because it seems it's a recurring thing. I mean, if you look at the breakdown from Burkina Faso to Sudan, from Sudan to Burkina Faso to Mali it just looks like it's coming home gradually. We'll come to that. But let's talk about the issue of palliatives. In the course of the week, I watched a video where members of the opposition party in Ekiti State, raised objection in respect to how the palliatives is being distributed to the people. Chairmen of some political parties came out to say that they've not been carried along, they've not given them anything to give to their party faithfuls. To start with, how important do you think that decision by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to give palliatives to the states to go handle themselves, how important was that decision? And secondly, are you disappointed as this is being, aligned along party interests and not for the general public, Mr. Adeyemi?
I think I may not completely want to blame President Tinubu for allowing the state to handle the matter, simply because that's for the federal government to handle the matter. Simply because I think there were allegations against the data, at least with the federal government. I think for this when they were doing this Shopee and all this whatever they did the other time, and many Nigerians complained they never saw. I think never had feelings of those things, and the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, that gentlewoman, that woman that was there, I think that was said to be given enough to share. I think that whatever data that woman might have used, I think nobody should think of using such a data, because we asked our listeners some time ago if anybody ever had or they knew somebody that collected under that Buhari, and nobody raised, I think, hands up to tell us he knew somebody. So people condemned the data. Again, the principle of federal structure. You see states that are supposed to take preeminence. Federal government has no land. And that's the truth. Federal government has no land. So it's the state that holds the land. You know, it's a federation, it's a composition of constituent
It's a federation unit.
Yes, federation is component units that came together that formed the federation. So if the governor said, well, we know our people, let's do it. That's in principle. It's okay. Do you understand? If opposition party in where APC just coming now, if opposition party where APC governor is ruling were shouting, right? I'm sure APC
will be shouting where the PDP
PDP governors or Labour parties. So I think so. Let's just look. That secondly, but is that all right? It's wrong. They are not supposed to be political in the distribution of these low-hanging fruits. Both opposition and member of that party were suffering the hardship occasioned by a removal of subsidy. Do you understand? And this ability to, talking of this removal of this forex matter. Do you understand? Everybody is facing it. But you know Nigerians for who they are. Right? They always do things completely against how planned. Some of the governors we are talking about, if they have the opportunity, they will be worse than Bongo of Gabon. If they have a slight test of the opportunity. Why should this be done along party lines? Why should palliative be controlled by party member machinery, not state government machinery? Why can't you devise a method where you have certain number of words in local government, wherever? Why can't you just distribute this along whatever you have? Why can't, if it's good to be by random sampling, why can't be random sampling? Whoever come to his luck, let him get. But it's quite unfortunate. It's condemnable. It's condemnable. And if they continue this way, well, they might some of us that kicked against at least all these distribution of rice and kind of thing, we are being right. Because to me, I don't know if how many bags of rice you are going to give me that will cushion effect of what my household is passing.
Mr. Adeyemi, I saw some of this palliative in some states. 2 cups of rice.
So what is it?
2 cups of rice.
It's nonsense. It's nonsense. Do you understand? We are saying the palliative we need for, okay, if we don't have power to change this pump price, right? The palliative we need is constant power supply. The palliative we need is good roads. The palliative we need is a conducive environment to operate our business. The palliative we need is if a small scale man wants a loan, let him get a loan. Is stupidity in Nigeria for commercial banks to continue giving loans at 26%. I'm not talking of fintechs. I'm not talking of all these the money doublers of 30% in 1 week. I don't know. There are plenty, telling to come and take 5,000 naira or 30,000 naira now. In the month, it comes to 97. You will pay 60,000. I'm not talking of those ones. I'm talking of real commercial banks. The least you can get in any commercial banks is about 26%, 23 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So about 26% interest. So how would anybody take a loan without growing cocaine? If they grow it and you for a year, you are paying 26% interest on loan for business. So that's what the best you can do is collect that money, go to China, go to London, bring all these scraps, come and sell it. So even in farming, can you make such profit? We're not talking about somebody who wants to go into manufacturing. So what I'm saying that what is the best palliative, like talk to these commercial banks. All these commercial banks, they are posting billions of interest. We will say, they will tell you they have they gained about 150% increase before tax, 150% as against what they had last year, right? Is the economy growing at that proportion? So banks were making hell of money, and the economy is retrogressing. So tell us, if you are saying the interest has come to single digit, how is that in Britain? Is single digit, in America is single digit. If interest is 7%, 4%, 6%, people can take loan and go into productive venture. These are the palliatives. If you were able to get 100 million or 50 million at 5-3% interest and you start a business, you're going to employ many people, being given 2 cups of rice for how many weeks? So I personally, I don't believe in this low-hanging fruits of distributing rice, bread for people as palliative. We are only at least enriching few individuals that got the contract to at least to continue to impoverish our already battered citizens. So what will give me a bag of rice? How long will it take in my life?
It's only rice I'll cook.
It's only rice I'll cook again. See what happened. There are many ways you can make palliative more interesting for people. If you spend that money, okay, hold this money, all right, kerosene, gas, do you understand? For this period, let's use it for them. Do you understand? Let's 12.5 kg come to 4,000.
4,000.
Do you understand? Let's kerosene that all these poor women are using to cook. We don't. Some of them cannot, but you don't want them to go and fell trees. Do you understand? But let the kerosene comes down about 60% downward review. Do you understand? These are the palliatives. You are still in control of that one, right? But we'll give some people money contract to go and buy rice and be sharing it to party Facebook.
Some of them won't even buy the complete numbers that they've been paid to buy.
Who monitors consumables?
Nobody.
These are consumables. Can you argue if I told you I've shared 100 bags of rice?
You don't argue it.
And I show you video. So will you see it? Even in Ogun State, when the former governor was there, when they were launching their rice, and we saw what they used to package it. Do you understand? We saw it. We saw the rice powder meat. Do you understand? That's Nigeria for you. So, but I think is a misdirection. It's a wrong step. I think it's a very, very wrong step. It's wasteful, and it's not going to give. It will give them. It will make more people to hate this government, at least, than whatever they are interest they thought they will get from it. Because I will say you are giving people 2 cups of rice when they are buying fuel at the 700 naira per litre. When the power has not improved, they still buy 2-3 liters every day to display their breads at night.
And they are not even making as much profit on the bread.
How will they make their profit?
Thank you very much, Mr. Miwade. I mean, the line has been buzzing, and the calls are coming in, the messages are coming in as well. I'm sure you've been following the conversation now since 4 p.m. and we've looked at a lot of issues. We've looked at the challenges of the coup that is ravaging Africa at the moment. The very recent member of the coup family, like one of my mentors said this morning, had to be Gabon, where a certain family, either Ali Bongo or Musa Bongo, have been ruling for 56 years. That's a long time. I remember, growing up, I used to think 𝒖𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐𝒏, that's the former president of CAF, I used to think 𝒖𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒐 was the name of the African Football Federation, because that's the only thing I ever heard in my life growing up. It was much later I found out that it's actually the name of the president of CAF and not CAF itself. I mean, that's the mentality that deals with a lot of African leaders, and that's exactly why we are seeing all of this, coup every single time, every now and then. Well, I'll allow you to join the conversation, but let me quickly stop on Facebook. Olodude is saying the rule of law, social justice, and good governance would save Africa. Africans and African leadership needs to wake up. Ogungbe Samson Akoni says nobody should encourage coup, but our politicians should take the welfare of the citizens first. I agree with the analysts on palliatives like road, transport, and education. Mr. Ogungbe from Owodeyewa, thank you. Adayo Dada is also texting on Facebook, and it says what instigated the coup in Gabon and Niger and some African countries is due to low-grade mind rulers. They've misruled and they've looted and they've impoverished the people. They've also used the wealth for vote buying and intimidation. The case in Nigeria, there's controversial election. I want to ask the election that took place in Lagos. But this one is actually being challenged in court, so we're not going to discuss it on the show. Let's open the phone lines. 1 minute, just straight to the point. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Lucky, calling from Ikoyi.
You're welcome, Lucky.
See, nobody pray for military coup, but the place is our leaders, because in a Igbo country, if they protest or they accuse you they are just accusing, so they will reside there. But here they say if you like me, you promise you, so I see many step and not come out. Imagine a presidential candidate, you never enter. You take enter and remove resources. If they like, maybe they protest, maybe they cry, I will see the reason. Is that a democracy? If somebody, because we believe that no matter we protest 1 year, nothing will happen to see them. That is just we are that's why we say them. But if they can behave, nobody will talk of a military. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 0913-600-0410. More messages are coming in, but I want to pick more calls. You can join the conversation. Pastor Ambrose, 1 minute.
Good evening.
You're welcome.
Good evening.
Yes, always on point. You see, I want to even ask, these military people that brought up, they are the problem of this Nigeria. Military. They are the ones that gave us fraudulent constitution that is pushing us up and down. Can't we sit down now and even say, once you are a governor for 2 terms, no more political position for you. Once you are a minister for 2 terms, no more position for you. Once you are any political position you hold for 2 terms, you go and sit down. All these palliative, you have said my mind already about palliative. All these things, you are declaring figure and the people are continually impoverished. No road in Ogun State. Thank God the 𝒂𝒂𝒏 is in Magboro there. They even start their center road. The road is completely destroyed now. So when are we going to enjoy democracy? I saw a bit of good democracy when I was young. But today now, the bread that I used to buy 20 kobo is 2,000 naira now.
Thank you, Pastor.
What is all this for now? What is all this?
Thank you for joining the conversation. Tomorrow is Friday, so we have much time to talk. Fidelis Maduobuke on Facebook says, why can't the government fish out those that have stolen the subsidy money and recover the money from them? The Rivers State governor said that the Abuja cabal are responsible for oil bunkering. Is the president afraid of some people? Thank you very much. Keep the calls coming in. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Your name and where you calling from? 1 minute.
I greet our guest, God bless him. Like he said, we need a lot of things for palliative, not all this one you assign people. We need palliative hospital for health issue. And I never, when the other was there, don't take it here with paper. People are doing it now. They cut our head, all this one are doing is not, people are telling them what to do, and they review.
Thank you very much. Back to Facebook. Olupita Babalola says, I'm 100% in support with your analyst on his take about the so-called palliatives. He has identified what Nigerians need rather than sharing a Congo of rice. Their initiative will make Nigerians so hate this government the more. Well done, sir. Thank you very much. More calls. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Your line.
I'm not on the line.
You're welcome.
Prof. Yeah, I want to thank Professor Olumiwade, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Thank you.
I want to ask one thing from you.
Yes, sir.
Are you telling us that those ECOWAS this thing group that they call themselves president doing ECOWAS, are they not telling themselves the truth that the way they are running their country is not good? Hello?
We are with you.
So somebody can use 50-something years. Even said, I believe is Cameroon the next now because of what is going on there.
Everybody is changing their services
Now, the truth must be told. Lastly, look at Lagos. The way our president governed the Lagos state. Who are we now talking about? I beg. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 0913-600-0410. You're live on mainland 98.3 FM, and this is the Situation Room. Hello, Fama. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Opayemi.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, sir. My greeting to your guest.
You're welcome.
Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Looking at it, we lack leadership in Africa. Yes, a man stay over 40 years and he is unable to develop the country. So that is Africa for you. You know, if this could continue occurring, it's just telling the people that we need to give the people who are leading the benefit of the democracy. So if everybody in Cameroon, in Gambia, in Libya, they are enjoying themselves, most of the military, they will not even think of coup at all. Everybody will just go on its normal business. But in the situation that the people they are ruling, they are not enjoying. Some people will push for it, and at the end of the day, we come to a reality. So that's what is happening across most of the Africa we are experiencing now. But I just pray that God will put an end to it. Lastly, Opayemi, we are looking at September. All eyes will be on the judges of our presidential election. I want Nigeria to pray. All the 5 judges.
Let's keep it on the conversation we're having today. Let's keep it on the conversation we're having today.
It's part of the conversation of Opayemi.
Yes. Let's keep it on the conversation that we're having today. Thank you very much. On Facebook, Onifade Festus says, hello, men on the mic. The African leaders are greedy and selfish. The Bongos family have spent 56 years at Gabon presidency. Haba. If not change, we shall experience more coup in Africa. By Elder Onifade from Salulu. Prince Wise.
To you, my dearest one in the studio.
You're welcome, Prince Wise. Please help me put down the volume on your radio set. Or you turning off completely? Okay.
I must obey your order.
You're welcome.
You see, it happens. Some African leaders, they don't know how to say good night when it is time. How can somebody rule for complete 50 years? It's a family affair. Now, they are the ones who fight all this way military to take for now. What I'm talking about? The democracy, we borrow it from America, from the Western world, and we don't behave like them. Look at, we don't want military. Our problem today in Africa is caused by military because they don't have long-term planning. I'm telling you, the way they bandoosh. Look at Abada now. Abada in Nigeria, how many billions it takes my Commonwealth, your Commonwealth, our money. No, so much. These African people, they must think at that. And AU, all of them, they want to sit down and tell those leaders, well, you have 2 times, okay for you now. What I'm talking about?
Thank you, Prince Wise.
Many leaders look at Cameroon, they want to down in office.
Thank you, Prince Wise.
Please tell them.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll have more conversation tomorrow, which is Friday. It's going to be open mic. I promise you. I already have a guest, but I will try, to reschedule it. Abiodun is texting and he says, if the federal government don't own lands, why are they not allowing the states to harness their natural resources and use it to develop their own state? That's a critical question, Mr. Adeyemi. Kerosene is very expensive, even more than the PMS itself, and it's just unaffordable. Thank you. Mr. Adeyemi, we've had a very engaging conversation on the show today. I just looked at the time. I'm really pressed for it. In a minute, should Africa or should Nigeria be worried about this institutional coup that is going on, especially right under our nose in Nigeria Republic?
And the 60s, that's how it happened. When Ghana lost it and some of our neighboring country lost it, that's why it was like it was festering, and that's why it got here. So, but the truth again is that anybody wants to avoid coup, that is only good governance, rule of law, at least obeying democratic tenets and principles. Those are the antidotes, at least to avoid coup. But once you cross the border, once you do not believe in you cross the border and you became illegal, and you expect anything illegal government also.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deyemi. Mr. Deyemi is the head of political desk of Guardian newspaper. And of course, he honors us with his presence every Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Next week, Thursday, is going to be here, God willing. God spread our lives. And then we have other issues to look into. My final word today is this. You should know when to quit when it's done. Because you may not be able to face the consequences of darkness. Stay out of trouble and keep your dial locked on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is 𝒂𝒒𝒒 𝒂𝒒𝒒. God spread our lives tomorrow on Friday. It's open mic day. That will come here to have a very large conversation. But before then, 5 o'clock, the news headline will come in. And by 5:30, the full bulletin. And by 6 o'clock, 𝒂𝒂𝒂 𝒂𝒂 and the sport gang will come in here to keep our abreast of everything you need to know in the world of sports. But before then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.